Greetings, fellow Ambazonians. This is your Deputy Defense Chief, Capo Daniel, aka Sense Pass King. I don't come for talk for now about which way they go on, as we don't hear there don't be a leak audio where I dey talk with one of Sisiku Tabi, a cabinet member them, where then they for outside of Kondengi. That means the one the way they work for ye through Yerima. Jessy Itambi. Jessy Itambi, he called me and we talk. I did talk for ye like a top official for the governing council where they receive a call from somebody who is representing Sisiku's organization. And when he called me, the BB for meeting, he first sent me a text message and BB for meeting. I call it back. I be here for background. Yerima they talk and other people that they talk. We look like they be there for a Zoom call. So eventually, he called me and I respond to the call. He be say get an inquiry about the regional director, delegate of Kamwata, where be under custody for Kamwata failure to comply with requirements put forth by the Ambazonian Defense Forces. It be very unfortunate and a very bad practice. Say when two officials they talk about internal conversation where include sensitive information and sensitive cases them. One of the person it take them it go leak them for outside. That one a bad faith because I be the talk for ye for JC. No sir, the reassure the organization of Yerima, administration of Yerima. Yerima himself personally, he be done call me about this case. I'd have a conversation with ye. The details are classified respectfully, unless somebody have done something that is really wrong, and that would jeopardize the integrity of the liberation if you do not release it outside. You don't have conversation with top officials about sensitive things going on the ground and then you release them. So because Jessy Itambi, he done release the audio, I go release the whole audio. The whole audio from my own recording so that all Ambazonia they go hear. It be out there already. We done already release a video of the subject and I will release the audio conversation with Jessy. And I expect a public apology from Sisiku Tabi's IG group out of Kondengi under Yerima if they do not respond publicly to apologize for recording and leaking that information with the sensitivity without any justification. There are sometimes you can leak portion or entire conversation that are recorded when you want to protect the integrity of the liberation. But this case, you will listen to what Jessy Itambi, who is a member of Sisiku cabinet, is talking about. She will refer to money for liberation tax as ransom. This one is incomprehensible. It will refer to subjects who have been arrested as people who have been kidnapped. If you are representing an institution that stands to exert the sovereign power of Ambazonia, how will you use the enemy's terminology? Are you playing games? I understand that Jessy Itambi was an SDF official, like many SDF officials in South Africa who have been a thorn in the flesh of this liberation movement, pushing Cameroon-style politics. Most of these people, I don't even know if they believe in our independence or they are just playing games somehow to go and build some cocoon in Yaoundé for themselves or back home for themselves. But if you are indeed a believer of Ambazonian liberation, if you are a true nationalist, you cannot be talking in these terms, disregarding Ambazonian top faction, the right to exert and enforce our sovereignty and our territorial integrity on the subject matter. I'll play the audio, the conversation who I recorded from my side, since the Jessy already released them, so that make all una hear. But this is a disgrace to the friendship and collaboration that both organization enjoys. And if they don't have an apology to me as an official and to the organization of the ADF and the governing council that I represent, I will go further to address this group and also put them in perspective in the light of this leakage and this disrespect. To give our people a background, I will explain for now what happened. The Ambazonian Governing Council, it don't provide a vision on how to prosecute this war on a certain level and on certain issues that not need explained on social media. The Ground Zero and the Governing and the War Council have set up mechanism to implement policy. Decisions have been made about all multinationals and companies that are registered under Cameroon that operate within Ambazonian territory to exploit our resources and exploit economic activities that do not primarily, in terms of kickbacks, benefit our population in any significant manner. We have called all quarterhead, convoked them, and explained to them this policy. We have delegated them to meet workers of INEO, in particular, Kamwata, and many others that I will give the names later on. But it is not necessary at this moment to go ahead of it. But they have got the messages. We've sent those messages through quarterheads. We have sent the message on public, telling the people of this policy. All these companies will pay liberation tax. We will not stop them from providing services to our people because the services are essential. We want the water and the light. Water is in Ambazonia. We are not bringing water from La Republique. La Republique makes money from this water, carry the money back to their country and buy weapons to kill our people and burn down our villages and buy armored cars. These companies must pay back to our community for us to defend our homeland for the common good of all Ambazonia. All officials who work for these companies, most of them were Francophones, but because Ambazonia is fighting for its freedom, they are now giving opportunity for some Anglophones to use them as puppets to continue to exploit our territory for the benefit of French conglomerate. Any official that do not comply, any company that do not comply, their workers will be arrested for us to stop and get them into compliance. So that is what has happened with the case of the Kamwata regional delegate who was arrested when he was on duty in their service van. The rest is history. I'll leave it there. You can listen to the conversation with Jessy of the Sisiku Kondengi IG group, and you can hear the conversation for yourself. She has already released her own recording. And if I do not have a public apology, not just to myself, but to the governing council and the Ambazonia Defense Forces, I'm going to put them on the spotlight and in the proper perspective in line of this lake. Listen to the audio.
All right. So from what I understand, Kamwata has been levied and he's a regional director or something for Kamwata, and you picked him up.
Yes, he has been arrested for failure to comply for paying liberation tax and for complying with the cessation of taxing public waters.
Based on my conversation with Relindis, Kamwata itself as a company has refused to comply. So how do we then intend to hold our own people accountable for something that a company is not paying?
Any staff that works for Kamwata, especially senior staff, will be arrested if they continue carrying out economic activity without complying. So we have made that clear to them. Any staff that goes on duty will be picked up. He was picked up in a service vehicle, so he was on duty.
Okay, so basically we are saying that civil servants should not work anymore. Otherwise, if their bosses refuse to pay a certain levy, their lives are at stake.
No, we are saying that all multinationals that perform economic activity must do so with our permission, paying their liberation tax. Any of their staff members...
Is not a multinational, is it? It's a national.
We consider it as a multinational company. That is how we consider it.
It's not.
Yeah, but that is how we consider it. We do not go after civil servants for being civil servants. but we hold this staff for being members of those companies that are implementing their economic activities. That is how we see it from our side of the point. Yeah.
But it's like going after Enyo, right? And if you are saying that they are multinational, when it's not a multinational, just because we wanted to fit that description, I don't know. So what is it that needs to be done if Camwater doesn't pay this thing? Because that guy is not going to pay for Camwater. So what are the options here?
The only option is for Camwater to comply, or they get into war with us.
If Camwater doesn't comply, he's a staff. He doesn't own Camwater or anything.
Camwater is made up of, we consider Camwater as a conglomerate set up by Cameroon State. And all the staff members are working for that company. We will keep on arresting as much staff as we can until they comply. We want them.
If they don't comply, this is what I'm trying to find out for Relendez. If Camwater doesn't comply, what next?
If Camwater doesn't comply, we will continue to arrest their staff that implement that collects their revenue and mounts their offices. That is what is going to happen. They must comply.
So basically, we are going to keep our own hostage until a certain company that is not even owned by our own pays ransom. That's what this is.
I think for anybody who is picked up for this reason, that person, they must comply with the tax requirement before they can be let go. They must require it. So
I don't know.
This you have to go to work. I'm actually at work right now. So basically that is it.
So
they have to comply.
Step if the company doesn't pay, what happens to her sister's husband? That's what we need to know.
I think with the current situation and the insecurity, he will probably be moved into Biafra for safekeeping for the long haul. But that money must be paid. They must pay their liberation tax. They must pay.
If they do not pay.
If they do not pay, it as a matter of principle.
Here, Capo Daniel, and I'm sure you guys have analyzed it. If Camwater doesn't pay, it doesn't matter if you keep him for 6 months or you arrest 50 others and keep them for 6 months. If they do not pay, what happens?
As a matter of principle, we would make arrangement. The organization will make arrangement for a long-term hold of any person that is picked up by Camwater, probably being transferred across the border to Biafra for long-term holding. So as we
so you guys are going to keep them in Nigeria, kidnap our people, keep them across the border for as long as possible, even going to a year because a certain company refuses to pay.
Yes, if they don't comply, that is what we have to do. That is what we will be forced to do. If we pick up the indication that is what is going to happen, like we are picking up these indications, movement will be made to transfer him for a longer hold.
And then if they do not pay,
we are at war.
2 years down the line, they still have not paid.
We are at war.
What happened?
We are at war. We continue to fight the war. My dear, I have to go to work.
I'm not saying we will stop the war. I'm saying for the hostage that you guys have, if Camwater doesn't pay 2 years from today, 3 years from today, what happens to this young man?
I frown with that description of calling somebody who have been picked up as a hostage. He has been arrested for failure to comply, and he will be held as long as it takes for them to comply.
Camwater is not his company, so he has not refused to comply.
He represents Camwater.
No, he's a representative and not a decision maker. He doesn't run the finance. He doesn't make financial decisions. So you're picking up the wrong person for a decision that management has refused to adhere to.
Okay, my dear, I have to go. I just try to explain to you the policy principles on which it is being, how things are going on down there. These are the consensus of the organization.
I agree that you're trying to explain, but you're not answering my question.
Okay,
3 years from today, Camwater doesn't pay. What happens?
If 2 years from today, Camwater doesn't pay,
analyze the worst case scenario.
Let me answer you. I cannot give you an answer for such questions, but I will just say if we get the indication that they are not going to comply, there will be change of scenario where they have to consider putting him in a place where he will be more comfortable for his own security and for the long-term hold. If we see that this thing is going to take long, that is all I can say.
We're gonna keep him comfortable, clothed, fed, health, everything for years to come because Kamwata refuses to pay.
Let's
I'm
just
trying
say,
to follow your rationale.
Let's just say,
trying to imagine.
Okay, let's just say, let's just say I cannot answer a question where we have not arrived there. It is not up to a year now.
But you guys cannot be carrying this out when you've not analyzed the situation and the policy position that you took without analyzing the worst case scenario and the impact it has on the very people that you're picking up and their families.
Just because I am not telling you, it does not mean that we haven't thought about it. We have thought about it. That is just the policy. I'm just answering you.
Implementing if you've not thought about this.
Why do you think we have not thought about it? I just tell you that we have thought about it. Just because I am not going to give you a direct answer does not mean we haven't thought about it.
Okay, but are you going to say that you're not going to tell Ambazonians what will happen to their family members that happen to work for these very companies that get picked up because the company management refuses to pay?
We have had meetings with quarter heads. We have put out public statement to the effect that anybody...
Quarter heads do not want Kamwata.
Listen to me. You have asked a question. Listen to my response. We have informed the general public through audio messages and video messages. We have informed them through quarter heads and this staff directly that anybody who works for this company without our permission, without the companies complying with liberation tax, will be picked up. We have announced that. We have informed them before, a month ago. So it is being implemented with public knowledge. Anybody who is picked up,
not announced it.
Anybody who is picked up for this purpose should understand that that is just how it is.
Here I am trying to ask a basic question because you don't just come up with a policy position and you make a statement. You come up with a policy position and you engage the public and let them ask questions. So assume I'm one of the public and I'm asking you a question. If my brother that works for Kamwata gets picked up and Kamwata doesn't pay for 2 years, 3 years, what happens to him?
If in that case, if I am asking, I'm just answering generally in that scenario. I wish it doesn't get there. I'll just say that. Hello. I wish it doesn't get there, but what I would just say is that people have, when things change as time goes on, people change things and things might change. But in this case, the principle will not change. It will remain the same. They will comply, no matter how long it takes. My dear, I have to go now. I'm at work. Take care. Inside town, Lido. So, ladies and gentlemen, wait to Naranjo's here now the conversation where we get with the Sisiku Tabi, a staff member where he work under Yerima. So now for my own side, I will be record them. The one way it be leak it they out already for social media, so I don't just give you a chance for also hear from my own recording. Now the same conversation. It be regrettable and I expect an apology from them, without which I will go further to put them into perspective in light of such behavior. It is not acceptable. There was no reason for her to release other than sabotage. She was not trying to clarify any position that might jeopardize the integrity of the revolution. If the position of Sisiku's group is that when Ambazonians they pick up somebody, it is a kidnapping, and when we ask for liberation tax, it is a ransom, then their ideology do not fit an ideology of people who are fighting to exert the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our state, the Southern British Cameroon. It is not consistent with that if that is their position. And they have to apologize for this behavior. If there was something that exposing this audio, sometimes audios can be put out there to make certain clarity about certain policy differences or to safeguard the integrity of the revolution. But Jessy, after a meeting with Yerima, I can just suggest, I am not sure, but from my initial call with her, She was in a cabinet meeting, and this is coming from their heart, from their core. Nevertheless, she's an official for Sisiku under Yerima, and she should apologize. Without which, I will put them in perspective in light of this betrayal. It is just wrong. We take our responsibility seriously. When the organization have done consultation, public announcement have been made, enforcement will follow. Enforcement have to follow. If we must win this war, we must stay in principle. That is how it is. The forces are doing their job, and they will not exploit or target anybody who is completely innocent. If you are working for any of this corporation, get them to comply or do not mount any posts. This should be a message to all the rest other companies. They should pay their tax. They should pay their tax. They must pay their tax. All of them. Any worker who collect money for public taps in Ambazonia will be picked up. Any INEO worker who goes around to share bill without their INEO paying their liberation tax in the area they operate will be picked up. Until they will understand that only Ambazonia have authority in Ambazonia. We will not allow an alien country like the Republic du Cameroon to create this multinational and send them to exploit our resources, exploit our economic environment without any feedback or benefit for our people. The occupation's era is over. Cameroon do not have any legitimacy. The administrator have been kicked out. We did not vote for them. We did not participate in their politics. We have declared our independence. We must exert that sovereignty of our territory until our independence that was granted by the United Nations will be effectuated. God bless you now.